So hey guys, Diaz here, and I'm going to be talking about Red Alert Remastered. Now I've been looking forward to play this game for a while now. It's certainly been hyped up by quite a lot. However, my computer was too slow to play it. Luckily, Beast, thank you for this, he suggested that I use the cloud to try and play the game. So I tried a few different solutions, including Vortex, that didn't work, and Nvidia GeForce Now. My computer was still too slow for that. Anyway, I found one that did work. That was Microsoft Azure with Parsec. So you have to use Parsec to get the good latency settings and avoid any lag. Okay, so without further ado, let's load up my screen recording of when I played Remastered, and I'll do a little commentary on what happened. Here we got the original pixelated graphics in the middle there. You can see the outside has been improved. The quality of the graphics looks better, as far as I remember, and that music sounds really crisp also. So now I'm checking if I can change my name to put Cncnet behind it, but I learned you have to do that in Steam. So now let's look at the map options. So I'm looking at these. I don't recognise them at all. I don't think they were in the original. I'm not 100% sure, to be honest. They're probably new to Remastered. So let's try and find some that I recognise. So these all look new to me. We got War Tank. I remember that one from Cncnet, is quite popular. There's a WO defense map down there. That's from Cncnet, and I'm looking at one of the classics. A classic custom map at least, called P4. It's very popular. Usually played 2 versus 2. So I'm going to use this as a first test. I'm just going to click the start button and see what happens.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so starting off here, we've got starting units. Now these are very unpopular with all of the players on Cncnet. Let me just turn the sound down here so make sure you can hear me. Okay, yeah, so starting units. Two main problems with starting units. First of all, the games will be over very quickly. They won't last very long. You'll find players will just rush your base and kill you, so that's not very fun. And secondly, you can scout your opponent's base and there's nothing they can do about it. So scouting means revealing this black area so you can see exactly what your opponent's doing. Whereas without starting units, you can try and send infantry to scout your opponent's base. However, your opponent can also block your infantry with their infantry, thus keeping your base a secret for a while. Okay, let's look at the menu here. So you can use this unit queue functionality. So that's a new thing. And if you can hold the shift button, you can do that in groups of 5. So potential time savings there. However, that said, one of the key skills in the original game was to maintain maximum production by clicking the units or the tank button at the same time as watching your enemy and placing your buildings. So that's considered a measure of your skill level in the original game. So now it's been taken away. It's not necessarily a con, but it's certainly going to change the gameplay. A pro of that may be that it's going to give you more time to do other things in the game, such as controlling multiple tank groups and just generally analysing your opponent more, I guess. So the actual menu itself is different. We've got an extra column. In the original you had 2 columns, now you've got 3. And so that means that the icons are smaller. So if you are going to use your mouse to click on these icons, it's going to be harder. You've got more margin for error there. Or less margin for error, shall I say. Also, the menu's now been split into 3. So you've got your buildings, your infantry, your tanks, and I presume that's your super weapons. I haven't got that far yet. So that's different. You can actually assign hotkeys, so I've assigned A to buildings, D to infantry, and F to tanks or vehicles. That seems to work quite well for me. It will take getting used to though.
Construction complete. Building.
So yeah, I mean, although the Cncnet and older players of Red Alert, they won't be a fan of this unit queue. There is the option in Red Alert Remastered to assign a hotkey to every single unit, every single tank, every single structure. So, I mean, you've only really got your left hand to use hotkeys, because you need your right hand for your mouse. So I don't know how that's going to be possible, because it just looks like you're going to run out of hotkeys, or it's going to be very difficult to use just your left hand to not only place bookmarks, and I've got a point about bookmarks I'll talk about later, but also to use your left hand and place buildings down with hotkeys, make units with hotkeys, and so on. So, although eventually I would imagine that the best players of Red Alert Remastered will master every single hotkey, and will gain a time saving, allowing them to produce more tanks, more infantry, and put your buildings down faster.
Battle control terminated.
Okay, so that's an initial test. I must say the graphics look crisper. Obviously, a lot more attention to detail. Some players have said that they look a bit toy-like, and it's interesting that EA and the old Westwood guys, they went down that route, whereas they could have chosen to make them look a bit more lifelike, I guess. But anyway, it is what it is, and it is an improvement, I think, overall. Okay, so we're looking at the rules. These are the settings of the game. So we've got mode, bases on destroy structures, that's standard. You should really change that to destroy everything if you want to play like the original. And now we're looking at different maps. I think I go on and choose, well, I'm looking for the challenge maps. So in Cncnet you get a medal if you complete a gold medal challenge, so I'm trying to find that just out of interest, but it's not here yet. There's also the platinum medal, and I discovered that hasn't been imported yet either. So what do we have? I think I went for a ribbon next. Let's find out. So I don't recognise any of these maps. They all look fairly new. Northern Hatu, I recognise that one. That's a popular map. Gold Rush, but it's different. It's upside down and it's changed. The concept is the same. You've got a little hole in the middle which you need to defend. It's good for new players because it's like a funnel, so it sort of prevents opponents from rushing you, and the games tend to last quite long. It's also a very big map. Okay, so I've managed to find Ribbon Isle. I like this map. It's also very popular on Cncnet.org. It's popular. It's well balanced because you can start off tanking and then you can use naval units later on to get the most out of the game. So looking at the settings again, you can change your starting units. Game speed I've put on to fast. I noticed there's an option for super weapons in the rules there, and that's a new thing. You don't have that option in the original. You can turn off Aftermath. Aftermath isn't very popular at all in any of the old platforms, and certainly in Cncnet. And I'm going to choose to keep unit queuing on because it is an interesting change to the game. It's certainly going to change the dynamic of the game, and perhaps even allow newer players to get into it faster. So here it's me versus an AI opponent. The AI stands for Artificial Intelligence, or in other words, controlled by a computer.
Construction complete. New construction.
Okay, so I'm doing the standard build order for this map. Let's get some infantry out. So I'm queuing them up in batches of 5 just for fun.
Unit ready.
I mean, you would typically build around 40 to 60 infantry anyway, so not much change there.
Yes, sir. Ready and waiting.
Just the unit queue makes it easier.
Unit ready.
Okay, so
Unit
I've
ready.
set my bookmarks to get back. Although the bookmarks, there's a bug with them. It's
Training.
you set your bookmark, so that means like a capture of a screen which you can go back to later by pressing a hotkey, and it saves you time. However, in the Remastered, when you set the bookmark and then come back to it later, it takes you like 5 or 6 squares to the wrong place. So I think that needs to be fixed.
Cannot deploy here. Silos needed. New construction.
Okay, so we're building war factory and tanks now. So one option on Ribbon is to build around 5 tanks
Building.
and then go for a rush,
Acknowledging orders.
or you can build an ore truck early to improve your economy later on.
Construction complete.
So what I've done here is I've queued up 5 tanks followed by an ore truck.
Cannot deploy here. Unit ready. Building. Low power. Unable to comply. Building in progress.
Okay, so
On hold. Cancel.
the ore truck is looking
Building.
a bit odd. It's not in a bad way, but it looks like it's sliding around more than the original. Like they're just there. It looked like it did a handbrake turn, which is a bit quirky.
Building.
Affirmative. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Unit ready.
Reporting. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Unit ready.
Reporting.
Building.
Okay, so now I'm trying to
Complete.
group my infantry into group 1 and tanks into 3, and that's just my preference. I use WER
Yes, sir.
and then 2, 3, 4, 3
Yes, sir.
as a method of shifting and grouping your tanks. This is known as the fluffy method, after the Cncnet player who invented it. I'll put a link to his channel in the bottom, and you can see it for yourself. Okay, so going in for the attack here. I must say I'm finding it hard to do everything I'm used to. All of your like habits, they have to change for this game from the old one.
Unit lost. Building. Silos needed. Unit
Yes, sir.
lost.
Ready. Acknowledging.
Ready.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledge, sir.
Ready. Building.
Reporting. Affirmative.
Unit lost.
Yes, sir.
Unit ready. Building. Unit lost. Unit ready. Insufficient funds. Unit lost. Unit ready.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Building.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledging. Waiting order.
Unit lost. Unit ready.
So we've got a bookmark problem, trying to
Unit
go
ready.
back to my ore refinery bookmark, but it wasn't quite lined up.
Unit ready. Unit lost.
Vehicle reporting. Acknowledge.
Unit lost.
Reporting. Affirmative.
Oh dear, so the enemy's coming against me, and I've been trying to work out what to do. And now I'm going to try and defend my base, but I think it's probably too late by now. I'm going to have a go at... Yeah, okay, so I think I just quit here. And we'll try round 3. This time we're going to go for a multiplayer match. Let's see what it's like. So you've got 2 options, well 3 options. You've got QUICKMATCH, which is the ladder. So let's have a look. You can see at the top we've got a few of the top Cncnet players. They're already doing very well on this, which isn't surprising. I mean, there are some differences, such as the ones I mentioned, the unit queuing and that. However, the unit queuing is a system which is used by the newer Cncnet, not Cncnet, Command and Conquer games. So I would imagine that players that would play, for example, Command and Conquer 3, they would also get on quite well with this game. Also in this ladder, it's Aftermath only at the moment, which is such a shame, because none of the old players, nobody on Cncnet, very few at least, play Aftermath. It's not very popular. I'm not entirely sure why, but I also just prefer the original. So at the top here we've got SKIRMISH, which is versus computer controlled opponents. You can join a custom map, a custom game which someone has hosted, or you can host your own. So I'm going to first of all join someone else's. Let's have a look at them all. So we've got, okay, so it looks like we've got different options, custom maps, official maps. So we've got camper, no idea what that is. So we're going to look at the official maps. Okay, we've got Keep Off the Grass. That's a popular map from Cncnet.org. I recognise that. Super Bridgehead I recognise, although it's not so popular. Also it's the same for Central Conflict there. Looking at the options, it seems a lot of these players are pretty much keeping the standard remastered options, Aftermath, unit queuing. I do hope they've made the game speed fast, because otherwise my understanding is on ladder it's very slow, and I have actually played a few games on ladder and it's about 30% the speed of the original game, so that's quite frustrating at the moment. So what have we got here? Okay, so I found an arena game, no Aftermath, so finally I found one with no Aftermath. Good. And looks like we've got 4 players. I don't think anyone knows what they're doing here. It's probably going to be a free for all. And oh, you can also choose your spots here in the map. I don't think I realised that at the time, so I'm going to be in a random location. I'm not too sure. We'll see how this goes. So I've clicked ready, hoping these other players know to click ready also, and yes, no problem, away we go. Okay, so that was quite a smooth connection. I heard they've had server problems, or perhaps it's just because of the high resolution of the graphics now that some players have computers that can't play it very quickly. However, that right there was pretty good. So again, we've got starting units. That's a shame. So I'm gonna start building up here, thinking that I'm gonna find an ore patch, which is where it should be in the original game. But actually, in the remastered, although they've kept the layout of the maps the same, they've actually moved the ore patches around, and so I'm gonna soon find that I'm far away from the ore. And for those new to the game, ore and gems, this is what you need to give you money and produce men and tanks. Okay, so I'm gonna have to put my ore refinery down here, which is too far away now, so I'm gonna be broke very soon. So let's control my truck, try and collect these gems because these are worth more, and you should always try and collect gems where possible.
Ready and waiting.
Now in the old version there's a trick where you can hold down the S button and force your truck to move and collect gems and ore faster. But I noticed in the remastered that's been removed.
Construction complete. New construction options. Building. Building. Construction complete.
So I'm queuing up some tanks. However, I'm soon going to be broke, so I'm going to need some more ore trucks.
Unit ready.
So now I'm building
Building.
power plants to get closer to the ore, and then I'm going to have to build another refinery so I don't go broke.
Unit ready. Building.
So listening to the soundtrack there, it's been how could I say, remixed a little bit. It sounds better, the sound quality is better,
Unit ready.
which is cool.
Building. Construction complete.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
So there we go, I've got my ore refinery closer. I don't need this one now. You can have up to 3 trucks per one ore refinery. That works
Unit
quite well.
ready. Building.
Waiting orders. Acknowledged.
So there you go, I've got no money at the top. So I'm praying the enemy's not going to attack, but no, here they come. So I'm going to do my best and defend against this. Luckily for me, this appears to be a fairly new player. He doesn't know how to use the Q button. So if you press Q when you're attacking, you can make your tanks move and fire at the same time, and this means that your tanks take less damage. He's been pretty sneaky here actually. He's got some rocket soldiers killing my ore trucks. That's a good tactic.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
At first, when I heard the new sound effects for the tanks, I wasn't too keen on it, but now I'm getting used to it. I kind of like it, and also the rocket soldiers. I think their sound effect for when they fire their rockets sounds a bit more realistic.
Unit ready.
Yes, sir.
Building.
Affirmative.
Alright, here he comes. He's going for round 2.
Acknowledged.
So I'm gonna
Unit ready.
defend my base.
Unit lost.
Yes, sir. Reporting. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Construction complete.
Affirmative.
Unit lost.
Acknowledged.
Unit ready. Building. Building.
Yes, sir. Waiting orders. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Unit ready.
Affirmative. Yes, sir.
Building.
Affirmative.
Unit ready.
Yes, sir.
Building.
Affirmative. Reporting. Affirmative.
Yeah, I do like this music. It brings back feelings of nostalgia. Playing Path Beyond, maps like that in the 90s.
Yes, sir.
It's just a lot better quality now. The music sounds much better.
Building.
Yes, sir. Reporting.
Unit
Affirmative.
lost.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
On hold. Cancel. Insufficient
Affirmative.
funds.
Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Okay, so I'm gonna risk going for an attack here.
Affirmative.
I do know it's probably a free-for-all, so I'm probably gonna get countered by someone else later. I was kind of hoping that everyone's too new to attack so early, but you'll see later on I get absolutely destroyed by another player.
Unit ready.
Waiting orders.
So that's always part of the fun or the dynamic of playing a free-for-all. I mean, really, you should play quite defensively, and just
Unit
build up your
ready.
units and prepare yourself to be attacked from any angle.
Vehicle reporting. Vehicle yes, sir. Reporting. Affirmative. Vehicle reporting.
So I'm aware in the ladder that players are placing their sub-pens or their naval yards in water, so that if they've got no other unit, the enemy can't actually reach this building in the water. And so what players are doing is, even if they've only got a sub-pen in the water and the enemy's got like lots of tanks like this, they're walking off and they're making themselves a cup of coffee, having a beer, having dinner, coming back hoping that the opponent has resigned. So you know, of course, it's not very sportsmanlike, and in Cncnet that's not an issue because there's an algorithm that can calculate the winner of the game just by like the amount of units produced, units lost, kills, and that kind of thing. And an admin can resolve any disputes. But in this version, in the remastered, I know it's very frustrating for some players. Of course, you never want to lose, and you never want to lose to someone that's only got a sub-pen in the water. That must be so annoying.
Unit ready.
Oh well, it is what it is.
Unit ready. Building.
Overall, I think
Unit ready.
the game is pretty good. It's got a lot of potential.
Complete. Unit building. Unit
At least the ladder is too slow at the moment. It's on speed 4 when it should be on 7, so it's playing at about 20 frames per second, whereas the original is 60. And also here, I'm trying to use the Q command, but there's some bug with it. It doesn't listen, it doesn't respond as well as it does in Cncnet.
sufficient. Construction complete. Unit ready. Building. Unit
So yeah, I think overall it's a great game. It's got potential. It's got 3 things to fix. You need to fix the starting units, the speed of the game in the ladder.
cannot deploy here.
4 things actually. You got the aftermath. You need to split the ladder into aftermath and original red alert, so that you know players that prefer the original, which is most of Cncnet, have the option. And then also fix the Q points, make them more responsive. And I think that's about it really. I think it's going to be good, but I'm not going to be playing it anymore until they fix it, and also because it's costing me about £1 or $2 or so an hour to play this on the cloud, so I don't want to rack up too big of a bill. It's been a nice experience, but I'm going back to Cncnet. I know a lot of players, although I am getting wiped out, but I know a lot of players from Cncnet have tested it. They've got the same opinion as me, including Ford, who's currently winning the ladder on Remastered, and he's written a very good article, about all of the pros and cons of it, which I agree with 100%, and I'll
Terminated.
put a link to that in the video description. Okay, so that's all from me. I hope you enjoyed this review, and I look forward to seeing you either on the remastered version or come to cncnet.org to see how the game was played originally, and you'll find a higher standard of players there too. Cheers for now, Diaz.